space that we could do more, even though we're not necessarily well funded. And so I want to offer that I think the strands of resistance that we as artists inhabit, that I think is inherent to the work, right? Like if we're being very literal, my artistic vision is born of myself. Now, I'm not foolish enough to believe that there's not a context from which it emerges. I have arts thinkers and, artists that I've worked with that have influenced my aesthetic and how I operate and what it is that I look for out of that work. And I think that that's something that we as artists need to double down on. We need to make that a part of our bottom lines. So, complexify the organizational interpretations of the work that we do and really begin to engage in the conversation of the intangible value that we see. And, where I see myself sort of challenging as a grants administrator is in the next step is the final reporting. It makes it, and I liken this even to my PhD journey, and you'll get this too. Like, what's the question about how you present your dissertation work? What is the way that we present these findings, and the irony of us not allowing people to express themselves in their medium. Why is it that why are we just looking at words and numbers on a page when this person is not a literary artist? Why are we spending so much time? And I know some of it is the NEA. So I want to admit that there are structural constraints to that piece, but I think that we have opportunity in terms of how we engage the field to be even more inclusive and more accessible in relationship to how we engage with people, similarly, even on the front end, the application side, we have an accessibility committee. So that's another one of those tangible pieces that has been working to sort of push against where we are at. And so we're learning what the systemic constraints are within the system that we use for grant applications. And it's very clear to me as we're talking about our standards of practice today, that there have been these workarounds to sort of accomplish, the data collection that's necessary for panelists to make the best decision and recommendations for funding. But I also, we have this whole world of creativity and how people know things. The way we know is something that is inherently baked into our aesthetic and how we work in these spaces. And so I want to encourage everybody to lean into your voices in that way, to push where you feel like it is necessary, because that's where we see innovation and progress happen, because the field is calling for it and we can respond to it as public servants.